Hi, church. This is Sarah Morrison, and I have the privilege of sharing from Acts 17 and just giving a reflection on some things that the Lord has been teaching me as I've been going through this chapter. There actually are a number of things that just stand out to me in this chapter, but I just want to talk about one. And that's when Paul and Silas are in Thessalonica, and they come into the city and they start preaching and reasoning in the synagogue, and they actually are reasoning in the synagogue for weeks, and people are coming to Christ. Jews are coming to Christ, Gentiles, they say women are coming to Christ, and it becomes a bother to some of the devout Jewish people. And so what they do is they create a mob, and they kind of throw the city into an uproar. And then they accuse the uproar of happening because of Paul and Silas and because of what they are preaching. And so, and what they say specifically, and then it's in verse 6, the Jews accuse Paul and Silas, and they say, and Jason, who they're staying with, and some of the other brothers, and they say, these men who have turned the world upside down have come here also. And they're not only seeing what's happening in Thessalonica, but in chapters before, we saw how the gospel, as it comes and as presented, as the truth is presented, how it does cause division, which is something that Jesus always said would happen. The interesting thing is that what they're accusing them of is actually a lie, based on really it was them that threw the city into an uproar as they have been opposing what basically the gospel. And so for them, maybe in their heart, they think, oh, they are turning the world upside down, because in the reality, their worlds were getting turned upside down. And for them, so this is not an exaggeration. However, I thought it was interesting as I was just thinking about what it looks like for the gospel to turn the world upside down. And I realized that the world was actually turned upside down at the fall. It made sin the norm. It made sin normal. And the things that we see in the world, or what they were seeing in the world, or how they had interpreted things, are actually upside down most of the time. And what the gospel does is actually it's flipping the world right side up again. And so we see in the crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ that he is actually making the world right. He is setting the world right. What went wrong at the fall and in Genesis no longer has to be the norm for us, that there is right in the world, and it comes through Jesus Christ. As I was reflecting on that, I was thinking about what Karl Barth said many, many years ago. He was a Swiss Reformed theologian that lived from the late 1800s to the mid 1900s. So he lived through 2 world wars. And Karl Barth, as he was seeing how people were interpreting the events and things that were going on around him, he noticed that they were not turning to the Bible, but they were turning to other people to give them information so they could interpret the events of the day. And he says, he quoted, take your Bible and take your newspaper and read both, but interpret newspaper from your Bible. And that's always really struck me, because so many times, even in today, we interpret the things that are going on around us through social media, through newspapers, but what we need to be doing is going to the Bible first and realizing that the Bible is the standard. And so as we're interpreting the things around us, the people around us, the events around us, what we need to be doing is not interpreting the Bible through those things, but interpreting those things through the Bible. And once we start doing that, we are actually going to have more of an accurate read on what is going on around us. And we're going to see more clearly, because the truth of the Word is the standard. And so, this work of what I was saying with putting to right that Jesus did, it was put wrong in Genesis and has been finished through Jesus Christ. And so we ask, well, why isn't it done? Well, we live in the age of tension. I think that Jace, he preached on this maybe even a year ago, and I think he did such a wonderful job, but we are living in the now and the not yet. Some things have happened through the death and resurrection of Christ, and he has finished the work. However, we don't always see that every day, and it's a tension that it's almost uncomfortable to live in, because we know the truth, but we don't always see that around us. And so this means that while Jesus's work was complete and he's completely sufficient to do it on his own, within the framework of time that we live, sometimes it's not always evident to us that it is done. But something interesting is that in 1 Corinthians 3:9, Paul declares that we are God's fellow workers. And so in a kind of a surprising plot twist, the finished work that God did and the fact that God can do it all by himself, he doesn't need us to do the work. He has somehow chosen us to step forward and be his hands and feet in setting the world to right. And that we have a job in that. And we have the privilege to participate in his redemption, his redeeming plan, and how we reach out to other people and become a light to other people and to show them the redeeming work of Christ. It is all about pointing people to Christ. But we have a God-given and God-ordained role in this, in helping the world be set to right. And brothers and sisters, I think I just want to encourage you that through the gospel, we are able to have a hand in making things right, in flipping things around, in not settling for the upside down world that sin has created. And I just want to encourage you today, interpret all that's going on around us through the lens of the Bible and through the lens of righteousness and what the Lord is saying. And as we do that, what you will see is that the world is being turned to right, because we serve a faithful God. We serve a God who is committed to his people and committed to righteousness. And I hope that encourages you today. Can't wait to worship with you guys, hopefully in the next few months. But I hope you have a blessed day. Thank you.